LaMalfa. See? It's unusually quiet for you.
Thank you for yielding me time there to my friend and colleague from New Jersey. Appreciate it. Talking on the issue of campaign being used for buying votes, the president, back in his 2020 campaign, he promised to cancel up to $10,000 of federal student loan debt per borrower. And of course, after his election, he called for the 117th Congress to pass a bill to facilitate $10,000 in student loan forgiveness. So when he first announced his attempt by his administration to forgive the debt for those who need it most was in August of 2022. So since that announcement, the plan has been mired in pushback from the judiciary and legislative branches of the government. So it isn't even seen as legal or constitutional, is the charge. The main legal argument for its ability to forgive student loans is that the 2003 HEROES Act, a bill that provides reservists and their families relief from making student loan payments, also allows theoretically the executive branch to cancel student debt for anyone they wish to. This theory has, of course, faced severe pushback from many legal experts. The administration's argument is that because of the language of HEROES Act from 2003, the president would somehow have the authority to unilaterally transfer up to $500 billion in student loan debt from those who are contractually required to repay it to taxpayers who never borrowed the money. Not the taxpayers, but some of the students. The plan would cancel up to $20,000 in federal student loan debt for more than 40 million borrowers. Republicans and Democrats have voted for legislation that prevents the administration's bailout from taking effect. Many Republicans see the bailout as a wealth distribution scam because it, in fact, forces working-class Americans to subsidize the college tuition of wealthier Americans. Nearly all borrowers who to date obtain federal student loans do so under the William D. Ford Direct Loan Program authorized by Congress in 1993. The designation of this credit program as a direct loan program means that when making an FDLP loan, the federal government disburses funds to a non-federal borrower under a contract with the borrower that requires repayment. Since September of last year, multiple lawsuits have resulted in the administration's scheme being put on hold. A federal judge in Texas declared the entire plan to be unlawful. The Department of Education stopped taking applications from student loan borrowers who would have been forgiven under the plan, but the DOJ is currently appealing that decision. The U.S. Fifth Circuit Court of Appeals rejected an appeal from the Biden administration asking to allow the scheme to continue while the Supreme Court took up the case. Lawsuits against the Biden administration have also been filed in the U.S. 8th Court of Appeals. In a case known as Biden versus Nebraska, the U.S. Supreme Court is set to weigh in on the constitutionality of the plan. Oral arguments were heard in February. A decision has not been announced, but many legal experts expect the court to overturn the program. Congress has itself reacted negatively to the plan. H.J. Res. 45, a bipartisan resolution which uses the Congressional Review Act to overturn the administration's student loan forgiveness plan, was vetoed by the president earlier in June. Republicans in Congress have likened the president's plan to a vote-buying scheme, claiming it is an attempt to buy college graduate votes in exchange for the possibility of financial reward in the form of debt forgiveness. Concerns have been raised that the president's scheme is successful. There's a possibility a future president may forgive large sections of the country's debts and use the Biden student loan cancellation as a precedent to justify it. Bottom line is that for the people that took the loans out, they need to pay their own loans back. Hardworking people in this country that chose not to take student loans for college or just went immediately to work, went into a trade, other aspects of that, should not be footing the bill for those that agreed to do it when they signed up as adults to take these loans. Needless, we don't need to have an administration trying to somehow intervene and buy votes on that and promise things it cannot deliver for folks that really don't deserve it when they incurred the debt as making a free decision to do so. So this is a scam, a scheme, and it needs to be prevented. I hope the Supreme Court rules that way, and Congress needs to act to make sure that isn't carried out. So let's reward the people that work hard and pay their debts and not have a giveaway program that the federal government does in order to buy votes. I thank you for the time to my colleague. I yield back to him.
Thank you. And